The crystalline dome of the High Council chamber pulsed with an anxious crimson glow, reflecting the mood of its occupants. Chief Intelligence Officer Khan Voss stood before the semicircle of 12 council members, his four-fingered hands trembling slightly as he adjusted the holographic display. "Honourable members of the High Council," Khan's voice cracked, unusual for a Nexian of his standing. "What I'm about to present will challenge everything we thought we knew about species development and galactic security." High Councillor Thex leaned forward, her silver-scaled skin catching the light. "You requested this emergency session, Khan. After 200 cycles of service, you've never once used your emergency privileges. Proceed." The hologram flickered to life, displaying a blue-green planet that every being in the room recognized. Earth, the humans' homeworld. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their anti-gravity chairs. "Project Oversight has been monitoring the humans for the past 50 cycles," Khan continued, his voice steadying. "We all remember the initial reports. A young species, barely spacefaring, stuck using primitive chemical rockets." He paused, letting out a harsh laugh that made the junior council members flinch. "We were wrong, catastrophically wrong." The hologram shifted, showing a time-lapse of human technological development. The images flew past, crude satellites, space stations, lunar bases, and then something that made High Councillor Thex rise from her chair. "Stop the sequence," she commanded. "Rewind to time mark 47.3. The hologram froze on an image that shouldn't exist. A human vessel, but unlike anything in their database. Its design was elegant, advanced, and unmistakably built for war. "This ship was constructed in their asteroid belt," Khan explained, his professional demeanor cracking further. "We didn't detect it until it was complete. They're using technology that blocks our most sophisticated scanning methods, technology we thought impossible for their development stage." Council member Reth, known for his skepticism, spoke up. "One advanced ship doesn't indicate a threat, Khan. Perhaps you're being paranoid." Khan's expression darkened. "This isn't one ship, Council member Reth." He expanded the hologram, and the chamber fell silent. Hundreds of similar vessels appeared, hidden in plain sight throughout the solar system. "Project Oversight has failed. We haven't been monitoring them. They've been monitoring our monitoring." High Councillor Thex's voice cut through the stunned silence. "How did we miss this? Our technological superiority—" "Is precisely why we missed it," Khan interrupted, protocol forgotten in the gravity of the moment. "We were looking for development patterns that matched our own species. The humans, they don't think like us. They don't build like us. They don't follow any pattern we've ever documented." A low murmur filled the chamber as council members whispered among themselves. Thex raised her hand for silence. "Your recommendation, Chief Intelligence Officer?" Khan took a deep breath. "Project Oversight needs to be completely restructured. We need to stop treating humans as a primitive species to be studied and start treating them as what they are, a potential galactic superpower that has been playing us for fools." The crimson glow of the chamber deepened to a dark purple, matching the growing sense of dread among the council members. None of them noticed the small maintenance drone in the corner. Its camera focused intently on their discussion, transmitting everything to a location far beyond their knowledge or reach. The memory recording chamber hummed to life as Khan Voss accessed the historical archives. The council members found themselves transported back 50 cycles, their consciousness merging with the stored memories of the first contact assessment team. "This is where we made our first mistake," Khan narrated as the scene unfolded around them. The observation post on Mars had been state-of-the-art at the time. Commander Pel Renix, now long retired, stood watching the blue marble of Earth through the base's quantum glass windows. His team of researchers busied themselves with their standard protocols, documenting what they assumed would be another routine primitive species assessment. "Look at them," Pel had said, mandibles clicking in amusement. "Still burning fossil fuels. Their atmosphere is practically poisonous. Give them another century, they'll probably destroy themselves before we need to make contact." But junior researcher Nix Trell wasn't laughing. She'd been studying their information networks, their internet, as the humans called it. "Commander, something doesn't add up. Their scientific progress, it's chaotic." Chaotic? Pell had dismissed her concerns with a wave. "All young species are chaotic. That's why we guide them, once they're ready." "No, sir, that's not what I mean." Nix pulled up a holographic display. "Most species follow a linear progression. Tool use, agriculture, industry, digital age, space age. But humans, they're developing technologies out of order. They've mastered some quantum principles, but still can't cure simple viral infections. They're sending robots to other planets, but still fighting wars with projectile weapons." The memory shifted, fast-forwarding 3 years. A new figure entered the observation post, a tall, striking woman with unnaturally perfect posture. The name badge on her environment suit read, Dr. Linda Wells. But now, watching the memory again, Khan felt his spine tingle. "That's her, isn't it?" High Counselor Thex asked, recognition dawning. "The one we now know as—" "Lyra Blackwood," Khan confirmed, "the human operative who infiltrated our research team. We had no idea at the time. Our genetic scans showed her as perfectly human, because that's what they wanted us to see." The memory continued. Linda Lyra moved through the base with calculated efficiency, always asking the right questions, always steering conversations toward human technological capabilities. They had thought she was merely thorough, dedicated to understanding her own species. "Their military advancement is particularly concerning," she had said one day, presenting her findings. "They maintain deliberately outdated systems while their classified research pushes boundaries we didn't think possible at their stage." Commander Pell had laughed again. "Concerning? They're barely able to reach their own moon without tremendous effort. Their most advanced fighters still rely on air for lift." The memory froze on Lyra's face. For just a fraction of a second, there was something in her expression, a hint of satisfaction, of a predator watching its prey walk into a trap. "We now know," Khan continued, his voice heavy, "that everything we saw was carefully orchestrated. The primitive rockets, the environmental problems, the political conflicts, all part of an elaborate masquerade." The memory chamber shifted to a later scene. Nix Trell stood before a wall of data, her eyes wide with realization. "Commander, I've been analyzing their entertainment media, what they call science fiction. They've been theorizing about us, about alien life for centuries. But it's more than theories. Some of these stories contain technical details that are too accurate to be guesswork." "Are you suggesting," Pell had scoffed, "that humans are getting military technology from their entertainment stories?" "No, sir. I'm suggesting they're hiding their real technology in their entertainment, mixing truth with fiction so thoroughly that no observer could tell the difference." Khan ended the memory playback. The council chamber rematerialized around them, its mood even darker than before. "Nix Trell was the first to understand," he said quietly, "but by then Lyra Blackwood had already completed her mission. Every weakness in our observation protocols, every blind spot in our technology, had been documented and transmitted back to Earth." High Counselor Thex's scales had taken on a pale, sickly hue. "And we promoted her. Made her our chief xenoanthropologist for human studies." "Yes," Khan confirmed. "We gave them everything they needed to understand us, while they showed us only what they wanted us to see." Military strategist Martok paced the council chamber floor, his massive frame casting shifting shadows as he moved. The decorated veteran hadn't slept in 3 cycles, not since the surveillance probe incident. 8 missions, he growled, running a scarred hand over his face. 8 perfectly cloaked top-tier surveillance missions, all vanished without a trace. At first we assumed equipment failure. Now we know better. The holographic display showed a sequence of human technological achievements, each dated and classified. Martok pointed to the timeline, his finger trembling with barely contained frustration. The Krill took 300 cycles to develop quantum computing. The Zentari? 275 cycles. Humans? He laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the chamber walls. 12 cycles. 12. And that's just what they've allowed us to see. Council member Reth leaned forward, Surely you're not suggesting— I'm not suggesting anything, Martok snapped. I'm telling you what's right in front of us. The humans aren't just advancing, they're accelerating. Each breakthrough multiplies the speed of their next innovation. It's exponential. The display shifted to a series of recovered probe fragments. These were supposedly destroyed by asteroid collisions, convenient explanations for each loss, but look closer. Martok magnified the image of a twisted metal shard. These aren't impact patterns. They're weapon signatures, weapons we've never seen before. High Councillor Thex raised a hand. The Trade Federation reports no unusual energy signatures from Earth's system. No weapons testing, no major fleet movements. Because they're not testing in their system anymore. Martok slammed his fist on the display console, causing it to flicker. Sorry, my apologies, but you need to understand. 2 cycles ago, we lost contact with Research Station Gamma 9 in the Carina Nebula. Official report says it was destroyed by a rogue pulsar burst. He pulled up another image, this one grainy and distorted. This was captured by an automated mining drone 3 light minutes from the station, moments before the pulsar burst. The image showed a sleek vessel, unlike anything in their database, appearing from what looked like a tear in space itself. That's impossible, someone whispered. Their fastest ships barely reach light speed. Exactly, Martok said grimly. They wanted us to think they were struggling with basic faster-than-light theory. Meanwhile, they're not just traveling between stars, they're finding ways to do it that we never even theorized. Khan Voss stepped forward. The surveillance mission to their Mars colony last cycle. Tell them what your team found, Martok. The military strategist's expression darkened further. Nothing. We found nothing. No colony, no bases, no signs of human presence. 50 cycles of documented human activity on Mars, gone without a trace. When we tried to retrieve our old observation post data cores, they too had vanished. It's like they cleaned up a child's playroom, removing all the props from their little performance. But the humans still send missions to Mars, Council Member Reth protested. We monitor their launches, their communications. We monitor what they want us to monitor, Martok corrected. Think about it. Why maintain such elaborate deceptions? Why continue launching primitive rockets when they clearly have far superior technology? The answer hit the Council like a gravity wave. High Councillor Thex voiced what they were all thinking. They're studying us, our reactions, our surveillance methods, our decision-making patterns. Precisely. Martok pulled up one final image, a composite of suspected human fleet movements over the past cycle. They're not just advancing anymore, they're positioning themselves. Every seemingly random technological leap, every disappeared surveillance probe, every cleaned-up observation post, it's all part of a larger pattern. The chamber fell silent as the council members studied the movement map. What had seemed like chaos now revealed itself as something far more disturbing. A carefully choreographed dance of feints and probing actions, testing the edges of Nexian space. And now for the worst part, Martok said quietly. 3 days ago, we detected an anomaly in the Oort cloud. When we investigated, we found this. He played a short sensor recording. A message, broadcast on all frequencies in perfect Nexian. Thanks for the data. Let's talk soon. The crystalline dome above them pulsed an even deeper shade of purple, as if the chamber itself understood the gravity of their situation. They weren't dealing with a primitive species slowly finding its way to the stars. They were dealing with a civilization that had been several steps ahead of them from the very beginning. The emergency alert siren wailed through the council chamber as a new hologram materialized. The image showed a human news broadcast, dated just 6 hours ago. The headline scrolled across the bottom. Phoenix Industries unveils revolutionary space drive. This is it, Khan Voss announced, his voice tight. They're done pretending. The broadcast showed a massive hangar bay opening to reveal a ship that made several council members gasp. Sleek, predatory, and impossibly advanced, it hung in the air without visible means of support. At its helm stood a man the entire intelligence community had grossly underestimated. Commander Rex Phoenix. My fellow humans, Phoenix's voice boomed through the chamber, today marks the end of our solar system's isolation. The Starbridge Drive isn't just a new way to travel through space. It's humanity's key to the galaxy. Martok switched off the broadcast, his hands shaking. We tried to stop this. Operation Blackout was supposed to prevent this exact moment. High Councillor Thex turned to him sharply. Explain. 3 months ago, we attempted to sabotage their quantum research facilities, planted evidence to suggest their theories were flawed, introduced errors into their data streams, even arranged a few convenient accidents. Martok's voice dropped to a whisper. It was like they were waiting for us. The hologram shifted to surveillance footage from the failed operation. Elite Nexian agents, the best in the galaxy, infiltrating Phoenix Industries' main research complex. Everything went smoothly until... They let us walk right into it, Martok continued. The facility was a decoy. The whole building was one giant trap. The footage showed the agents reaching the central laboratory. As they attempted to access the main computer core, the lights shifted. A voice, smooth and amused, filled the facility. Welcome to Phoenix Industries. We've been expecting you. The next sequence made several council members look away. Not because it was violent, but because it was humiliating. Every piece of Nexian stealth technology, every advanced infiltration tool, simply stopped working. The agents found themselves frozen in place by gravity fields they couldn't understand, their supposedly undetectable ships appearing on the facility's main screen. Commander Phoenix himself walked into view, casually sipping from a coffee mug. You know, he said to the immobilized agents, if you wanted a tour of our facilities, you could have just asked. He smiled directly at the security camera. Sending your footage back to Nexus Prime now. Consider this a courtesy call. That's not the worst part, Khan interrupted, fast-forwarding the footage. Show them what happened next, Martok. The scene jumped ahead. Phoenix approached the nearest agent, still sipping his coffee. By the way, those gravity locks, reversed engineered from the technology you used to build this. He held up a familiar device, a standard-issue Nexian data core. Found it in your observation post on Mars. Well, one of your observation posts. We've collected quite a few. The current footage from Earth appeared again, showing Phoenix at the public unveiling. Behind him, the massive ship hummed with power that their sensors couldn't even classify. The Starbridge Drive, Phoenix announced to the cheering crowds, can fold space in ways previously thought impossible. We can reach any point in the galaxy almost instantly. And yes, he paused, looking directly at the camera again, as if he knew the Council would be watching. Our friends in the Galactic community might find this announcement surprising. Let's just say, humanity has always believed in thorough preparation. High Councillor Thex's scales had turned almost white. How long? How long have they really been capable of interstellar travel? Khan pulled up another display, this one showing detailed scans of the human ship. Based on the wear patterns of their technology, the complexity of their systems, he stopped, swallowing hard. They've had this capability for at least 20 cycles. While we watched them play with chemical rockets, they were already walking among the stars. But why, Council Member Reth demanded, why maintain such an elaborate deception? Martok's answer sent chills through the chamber. Because they weren't just developing technology. They were studying us. Every move we made, every attempt to monitor or contain them, taught them more about our capabilities and limitations. We thought we were the Watchers. We were wrong. The massive ship in the hologram powered up its drive, creating a distortion in space that their sensors simply couldn't process. As it prepared to make its first official faster-than-light jump, Phoenix's voice came through one final time. To our friends watching from afar, don't worry, we'll be visiting very soon. The Council Chamber's emergency session was interrupted by an unscheduled transmission. The holographic display crackled to life, showing a familiar face. Commander Rex Phoenix sat at what appeared to be a simple wooden desk, a knowing smile playing across his features. "Greetings, High Council of Nexus Prime," he began casually, as if chatting with old friends. "I believe now's a good time to clear up a few misunderstandings." Before anyone could respond, Phoenix pressed something off-screen. Suddenly, the Council's supposedly secure chamber was flooded with holographic displays, each showing a different human installation that had been completely hidden from their surveillance. "First," Phoenix continued, leaning back in his chair, "let me introduce you to the real Earth. Computer, drop the camouflage fields." Their sensors exploded with new data. The primitive orbital installations around Earth vanished, revealing massive structures that had been there all along. Space elevators stretched from the planet's surface. Quantum arrays dotted the lunar surface, and shipyards, dozens of them, curved through the asteroid belt. "Remember those quaint little rockets we kept launching?" Phoenix chuckled. "Great cover for testing your detection capabilities. Each mission taught us more about your sensor limitations, your analysis protocols. You see those failed rockets? Each one carried sensors designed to study your observation methods." Martok stepped forward, his military training barely containing his shock. "The Mars colony." "Ah, yes, our little theatre production." Phoenix grinned. "Would you like to see what's really there?" The display shifted to Mars. Where they had seen only abandoned research posts moments before, a sprawling metropolis shimmered into view. Massive dome structures housed millions of inhabitants. Ships of impossible design flitted between buildings that seemed to defy physics. "We detected your first probe 75 cycles ago," Phoenix explained. "Found it hiding behind Pluto, gathering data on our early space programs. Rather than destroy it, we decided to put on a show." Khan Voss found his voice. "The technological progression we monitored was carefully scripted, yes. Every breakthrough, every setback, choreographed to paint a picture of a struggling young species." Phoenix's expression turned serious. "While you watched our public space program fumble with basic rocketry, our real fleet was expanding through the galaxy." New displays appeared, showing human ships and bases in systems the Council hadn't even known were explored. Each vessel bore the Phoenix Industries logo, but now it seemed less like a corporate brand and more like the symbol of a hidden empire. "Your primitive chemical rockets," High Councillor Thex began, "run on antimatter drives disguised to look like solid fuel boosters," Phoenix finished. "Those satellite launches that kept failing. Each one successfully deployed quantum communication relays throughout your territory. The space debris you've been tracking, sophisticated monitoring platforms." The display shifted again, showing Earth's true defense grid. What they had dismissed as communications satellites revealed themselves as a network of weaponry that could rival any system in known space. "That internet of ours you found so chaotic," Phoenix continued, clearly enjoying himself. "A carefully maintained facade. Our real data network exists in quantum substrate. Those social media posts your analysts waste time studying, many written by AIs designed to maintain our cover story." "But your wars," Council Member Reth protested. "The conflicts, the political divisions—" Phoenix's laugh cut him off. "Some real, some staged. A unified species would have drawn too much attention. Besides, what better way to hide advanced technology than behind a screen of apparent social chaos?" The final display showed something that made even Martok step back. A massive fleet, hundreds of ships strong, emerged from what appeared to be a fold in space itself. Ships that had been there all along, hidden not behind any technology, but behind humanity's greatest weapon: the assumption of their own superiority by others. "We needed to understand the galaxy before revealing ourselves," Phoenix explained. "Your surveillance gave us the perfect opportunity. Every probe you sent taught us more. Every analysis you ran showed us how you think. Even your attempt at sabotage was useful. Your most advanced technology delivered right to our doorstep." He leaned forward, his smile fading. "Now, shall we discuss our terms for peaceful contact?" Or would you prefer to maintain the fiction that you're still in control of this situation? The council chamber fell silent, the realization settling in. They hadn't been studying a primitive species. They had been lab rats in humanity's grand experiment. The council chamber erupted into chaos after Phoenix's transmission ended. Voices overlapped in panic until High Councillor Thex slammed her ceremonial staff against the floor. "Order!" she commanded. "We need to decide our response. Now!" Martok stepped forward, his military training evident in his stance. "We must mobilize the fleet. Show them we won't be intimidated by these revelations. And risk provoking a war with a species that's been 10 steps ahead of us this entire time," Khan countered. "They've had decades to study our tactical responses. They probably know our battle strategies better than we do." A holographic chess piece suddenly materialized in the center of the chamber, a black queen spinning slowly in the air. Then came Phoenix's voice again, casual and amused. "You know, humans have this wonderful game called chess. The key isn't just knowing the rules, it's understanding your opponent's way of thinking." The queen piece multiplied, becoming an entire chess set. Moves began playing out at high speed, showing famous human chess matches throughout history. "For instance," Phoenix continued, "right now, Martok is advocating for military action. Khan opposes it. Thex is about to suggest a compromise, all exactly as our behavioral models predicted." The council members exchanged uneasy glances as Phoenix's assessment proved eerily accurate. "Here's something else we learned from chess," Phoenix added. "The player who thinks they're winning is often the one about to lose. You see, while you've been debating how to contain us, our diplomatic fleet has already arrived." The chamber's windows suddenly cleared, revealing a sight that struck them all silent. 5 massive ships hung in formation above Nexus Prime, their design an impossible blend of art and technology. They had somehow bypassed every defense system, every early warning protocol. "Don't worry," Phoenix's voice carried a hint of genuine warmth now. "If we wanted conflict, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Chess taught us something else too, something your species might appreciate. Sometimes the best victory is finding a way for both sides to win." A new hologram appeared. Official diplomatic credentials. The ambassador's name made Khan almost laugh despite the tension. Lisa Chen, the supposedly junior maintenance worker who had been cleaning their council chamber for the past 5 cycles. "Your councillor's tea will be ready in 5 minutes, Lisa's familiar voice came through the comm system. "And this time, perhaps we can discuss things openly, as equals." High Councillor Thex looked at her fellow council members, then at the spectacular ships outside their window, and finally at the chessboard still floating in their chamber. She understood now. Every move they had made, every decision, every analysis, had been part of a game they didn't even know they were playing. "Very well," she announced, her scales shifting to a diplomatic shade of blue. "It seems it's time for us to learn some new rules." The Black Queen piece spun one final time before vanishing, leaving the council to prepare for a very different kind of first contact than they had ever imagined. Lisa Chen walked into the council chamber, not as a maintenance worker, but as Earth's first official ambassador to Nexus Prime. Her simple cleaning uniform had been replaced by an elegant diplomatic suit that seemed to shift colors with each movement. "For the record," she said, settling into the visitor's podium, "I really did enjoy keeping your chamber clean. Humans have a saying, the best way to understand someone is to see how they behave when they think no one's watching." Commander Phoenix's hologram reappeared beside her, now dressed in formal attire. "You'll be happy to know that you passed most of our tests. Your species is methodical, patient, and generally peaceful. That's why we're here now, instead of having this conversation through weapons systems." "Tests?" Martok growled. "You were testing us?" "Of course," Lisa smiled. "Those surveillance missions you sent. We could have stopped all of them. Instead, we let just enough succeed to build a profile of your civilization. Your response to our supposed primitive status told us everything we needed to know about how you view younger species. Phoenix nodded. Every time you found a new human weakness, it was actually an opportunity for us to observe your ethical boundaries. Would you exploit those weaknesses? Try to hinder our development? Or offer guidance? The sabotage attempt, Khan realized suddenly. You wanted to see if we'd resort to violence. Precisely, Lisa confirmed. A species willing to secretly attack another is not one we could trust as allies. But you chose minimal force, aimed only at data, not lives. It showed promise. The chamber's lights shifted as Lisa raised her hand, revealing a hidden quantum terminal in her palm. Suddenly, the room was filled with true human technology. Medical systems that could cure aging, energy sources that defied physics, and ships that could dance between dimensions. This is what humanity actually looks like, Phoenix said proudly. We're not the primitive species you thought we were monitoring. We're not even the advanced civilization you now think you've discovered. Lisa stood, her suit rippling with impossible colors. We're something else entirely. And now that our evaluation is complete, we'd like to offer Nexus Prime something unique, a genuine partnership, but on terms that reflect the true nature of our civilizations. High Counselor Thex, to her credit, maintained her composure. And those terms would be... Simple, Lisa replied. Complete technological transparency from both sides, joint exploration initiatives, cultural exchange programs, but most importantly, a fundamental shift in how you approach emerging civilizations. Because there are others out there, Phoenix added, watching and waiting just like we were. Some of them have been patient for far longer than humanity. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They hadn't just discovered that humanity was more advanced than they thought. They'd discovered that their entire understanding of galactic civilization might be based on assumptions as flawed as their initial assessment of Earth. So, Lisa concluded, extending her hand in the traditional human gesture of friendship. Shall we begin again? This time, without the masks? High Counselor Thex rose from her seat, marking the first time in Nexian history that the council leader had stood to greet a foreign ambassador. As she reached out to take Lisa's hand, she finally understood. They hadn't been studying humanity, humanity had been teaching them, and class was just beginning.